All right. Turn my Bluetooth on. Sometimes that helps people hear me. I don't know. Hopefully it'll work. All right. So when we add those all up, what did we get? 22. And divide that by 5. So 5 goes into 22 4 times. 4 times 5 is 20. 22 minus 20 is 2. So let's put a 0.0 here and bring down the 0. And then 5 goes into 20 4 times exactly. So the answer is 4.4 is the mean. And to find the median, we want to put them all in order from smallest to largest. So that would be 1, 3, 4, 6, 8. And then the middle number is 4. So it has 2 numbers on either side of it. So that's the median. Okay. All right. And then what about mode? What would be the mode? None, because nothing's repeated. Alrighty, any questions about that? All right, number 2, let's do the same thing. So to find the mean, we're going to start by adding them all up. And then we're going to divide that sum by 6 because there's 6 numbers in the list. Okay, so when we add them all up, we would get 30. And 30 divided by 6 is 5. So the mean is 5. And then let's put them in order. So that'd be 1, 3, 4, 6, 8, 8. So in this case, there's an even number of numbers in our set. So we have to take the 2 middle numbers and average those. So we're going to take the 4 and the 6 and average them, meaning there's 2 of them, so we add them together and divide by 2. That's 10 divided by 2, which is also 5. So there's 3 numbers that are smaller than the median, and there's 3 numbers that are higher than the median. So there's always the same amount on either side of whatever the median is. And what about the mode for this? That's the only one that's repeated. So the mode is 8. Okay. Number 3, same thing. Let's find the mean. So we'll start by adding all the numbers together. And then there are 8 numbers in this one, so we'll divide that answer by 8. So whenever we add them all together, it equals 32, and 32 divided by 8 is 4. And then for the median, we need to line them all up in order from smallest to largest. So that's 1, 1, 1, 3, 4, 6, 8, 8. So we take the two middle numbers and we average them to get the median. So 3 and 4. So 3 plus 4 is 7. 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. And what about the mode for this problem? 1. It's just whichever one is repeated the most. It's not all of them that are repeated. Because so 1 is repeated 3 times. So in other words, it has a frequency of 3. So 3 is the highest frequency. So if there was another number that also was repeated 3 times, then you could have 2 modes. All right, on number 4, this data set is presented in the form of a frequency table. So F is for frequency. All right, so in this case, it's relatively small frequencies. So it would be relatively easy to write down the entire data set as in the form of a list, which would be, so what this is saying is that there are 2 zeros, 3 ones, 1 2, and 2 3s. Okay, so if you were to write out this data set as a list, it would be 0 0, 1 1 1, 2 3 3. Okay, so like I said, that's relatively easy to do because it's small frequencies. But the reason why frequency tables are helpful is because sometimes the frequencies are higher. What if I slapped a 0 onto each of these frequencies? Then how fun would it be to write out that data set? Not very. Okay, so that's why we often use this representation. So there's also a shortcut to calculate the mean in this case, which is we're just going to multiply across each line or each row x times its frequency. So 0 times 2 equals 0. 1 times 3 equals 3. 2 times 1 equals 2. And 3 times 2 equals 6. So then we can add up that column. So 0 plus 3 plus 2 plus 6 would equal 11. And then we can, to see how big the data set is, how many numbers are in the data set, add up the frequency column. So 2 plus 3 plus 1 plus 2 equals 8. And then to calculate the mean, we're just going to divide 11 divided by 8. So 8 could go into 11 one time. 1 times 8 is 8. 11 minus 8 is 3. So put 0.0 here so you can bring down the 0. And then 8 would go into 30 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. 30 minus 24 is 6. Bring down another 0. So 8 would go into 60 7 times. 7 times 8 is 56. 60 minus 56 is 4. Bring down another 0, and then 8 goes into 40 exactly 5 times. So the mean equals 1.378, or I'm sorry, 375. All right, number 5, what is the mode? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For number 6, what is the mode? No mode. All right. Any questions? All right, moving on to chapter 6, starting with ratios and rates. All right, write the ratio as a reduced fraction. All right, so 8.1 to 10. So we're going to start by writing 8.1 over 10. Okay, so we don't want to have a decimal as part of our fraction. So we can fix that by multiplying the top and the bottom by 10, or in other words, just moving the decimal point one time to the right on each of those. Same thing, either way you think about it. So that would make it 81 over 100. Number 2 says 35 meters to 100 meters. So 35 meters over 100 meters. So we can just cancel out meters and then we can reduce the fraction, because 5 goes into 35 7 times and 5 goes into 100 20 times. So 7 over 20. All right, number 3, 120 miles to 80 miles. So I know the miles are going to cancel out. So I'm just going to write 120 over 80. Yeah, that's what your blood pressure is supposed to be. Okay, the zeros can cancel out. So it's basically 12 over 8. And 4 can go to 12 3 times, and 4 can go into 8 2 times. So 3 over 2. And number 4. So I'm going to write down 25 and a half over 2 and 5/6. So the first thing I need to do is change each of those mixed numbers into an improper fraction. So 2 times 25 is 50, plus 1 is 51, so that's 51 over 2. And then 6 times 2 is 12, and plus 5 is 17, so that's 17 over 6. So I have a fraction divided by a fraction, so I'm going to flip the second one and multiply. So I have 51 over 2 times 6 over 17. And then I'm going to see what I can cancel out. So like 2 goes into 6 3 times, and 17 actually goes into 51 3 times. So since everything else on the bottom canceled out, then it's like just having a 1 down there, so it doesn't really do anything. But with it being a ratio, they might want you to, I guess, write the 1. Personally, I mean, I don't think it really matters, but I don't know if the computer would be picky about it or not. Well, 3 times 3, which would be 9. So the answer is 9 or 9 over 1. Either way. All right, number 5, 12 days to 3 weeks. So we want to convert these into the same units. It doesn't matter which units you want to use because they're just going to cancel out anyway, but they just have to be the same units. So I think it's easier to just, I know there's 7 days in a week, so I can just multiply 3 times 7. So 3 weeks is the same as 21 days. So that seems easier. So 12 days to 21 days. So then I can just write 12 over 21 and reduce that. So 3 goes into 12 4 times, and 3 goes into 21 7 times. So 4 over 7. Okay, so with a rate, you have 2 completely different units, unlike with a ratio where we had the same units. So we have 4 inches of rain over 18 hours. And then we're just going to reduce the numbers. So 2 goes into 4 2 times, and 2 goes into 18 9 times. So that's 2 inches of rain in 9 hours. And then 275 miles in 11 hours. So 275 miles over 11 hours. So the only way this could be reduced is if 11 goes in evenly to 275. So let's try it out. So 11 would go into 27 2 times. 2 times 11 is 22. 27 minus 22 is 5. Bring down the 5, and then 11 goes into 55 exactly 5 times. 5 times 11 is 55. Subtract that 0. Okie dokie. So 11 goes into 275 25 times, so 25 miles. And 11 goes into 11 one time, so 25 miles per 1 hour, or in other words, we might say 25 miles per hour, like that. All right, so find the unit rate. So the unit rate means the denominator, or like the second number, automatically becomes 1 regardless of whether it goes in evenly or not. So we're just going to be dividing the first number by the second number. So 75 miles in 5 hours. So we're just going to divide 5 into 75. So 5 goes into 7 one time. 1 times 5 is 5. 7 minus 5 is 2. Bring down the 5, and 5 goes into 25 5 times exactly. So this is 15 miles per hour. And then $1.50 for 4 pounds. So we want to figure out the price per pound. So we're just going to divide 4 into $1.50. 4 can't go into 1, so that's a 0. 4 into 15, we go in 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. 15 minus 12 is 3, bring down the 0. 4 goes into 30 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24. 30 minus 24 is 6. Bring down another 0. Oh, wait a sec. What did I mess up? I should have done 7 instead of 6. Okay, so 28. 30 minus 28 is 2, and then 4 goes into 20 exactly 5 times. So there we go. All right, so it's kind of like 37.5 cents per pound, basically. So most of the time when we deal with a dollar amount, we would round it to the nearest cent. But with it being the unit price, we don't have to. Because you're not paying exactly that amount. That just happens to be the price per pound. And you see that if you go to Walmart and you look at the tags on the shelf, it gives you the unit price for things a lot of times. But if not, then you can calculate it yourself, which I do all the time. Even on the Walmart app, actually, they give you on the grocery app, it gives you the price, the unit price. But the Kroger app doesn't, so then I have to calculate it myself. All right, so which is a better deal? 10 ounces of shampoo for $2.50 or 24 ounces of shampoo for $6? Hmm? Well, see, most of the time the larger container is a better deal, but not all the time. For actually on the shampoo, like the cheap little Suave shampoo that I get for my husband, the bigger bottle actually has a higher unit price than the smaller bottle. I think it does. Either way, it's like, $1, but still. It's funny how I will sit there and calculate the unit price of something that's like $1 to see which bottle I want to buy. But if like there's a particular one that I want and it's like $25 and that's the only one, then I'll just buy it. No calculator needed. Well, that's the only one and I want it, so I'm going to buy it. 10 ounces. Okay, so we got to figure out the unit price for each one. So 10 into 250. All right, so 10 would go into 25. 2 times 10 is 20. 25 minus 20 is 5. Bring down 0. And 10 goes into 50 exactly 5 times. So that one is 25 cents an ounce. And then the other one, 24 into $6. So 24 would go into 60 2 times. 2 times 24 is 48. 60 minus 48 would be 12. Bring down the 0. And 24 goes into 120 exactly 5 times. So in this case, they have the exact same unit price, so neither one of them is a better deal. All right. Yeah, I'm actually such a nerd that I make spreadsheets for like unit prices. Like if I want to shop for like, you know, certain kind of vitamin like vitamin C, I have to do like a spreadsheet for all the different kinds of vitamin C that you can buy on Amazon. And then I have to figure out, you know, the price per milligram of vitamin C, you know. That is so much fun. I love it. Because I'm also a health nut, obviously. So then I'm like, vitamin C, what's the price per milligram? Oh, what's the price per milligram for zinc? Oh, but this one's organic, so I don't know. And like, how many milligrams are in a pill? So how much the price per pill? You know, yeah, I'm that big of a nerd. All right. Huh? Yeah, but I'm cheat. I cheat because I use Excel spreadsheets and it just put the formula in and it does it does all the actual math for me. I just have to know what to type in. All right. Let me see here. Yeah, because see, they give you the price per pill, but then you have to know how many milligrams are in the pill. So that makes sense. All right, so proportion is basically just an equation where you have one fraction or one ratio set equal to another one. All right, so 1 raisin to 5 cornflakes as 8 raisins is to 40 cornflakes. So in other words, 1 over 5 equals 8 over 40. All right, and 12 errors is to 8 pages as 1.5 errors is to 1 page. So we would write 12 over 8 equals 1.5 over 1. So with proportions, you can cross multiply. So if you have a true proportion of A over B equals C over D, then if that's true, it must also be true that A times D is equal to B times C. Okay, so you have these questions here of these proportions that are, you know, asking you true or false. So the way you're supposed to do it is by cross multiplying and see if it's true. But in most cases, we can do it an easier way for the actual true or false part of it. Because if we just reduce each of those fractions independently, then it's going to be obvious whether they're equal to each other or not. So that's what I'm going to do. So for example, 8 over 6, I can reduce that. 2 goes into 8 4 times, 2 goes into 6 3 times, so that reduces to 4/3. And then 20 over 15, 5 goes into 20 4 times, 5 goes into 15 3 times, so obviously 4/3 equals 4/3, so that's true. On number 4, both of those fractions are already reduced, and they're just not equal to each other. Like if they were, they would look exactly the same, and they don't. So there's that. But you can also do their little cross multiplying thing to show it as well. So you could be like, okay, well, 7 times 5 is 35, and 3 times 9 is 27, and you know, if it wasn't obvious enough before, now it's really obvious that those are not equal, so this is false. Okay, number 5 is pretty obviously false, I think. We could also like move all the decimal points 1 time to the right and show like 7 over 4 equals 3 over 1. Okay, still obviously false. If you do the cross multiplying part, 7 times 1 is 7 and 3 times 4 is 12. Really obviously false, right? So, okay, number 6, pain in the butt. What are you going to do? Well, I'm just going to go ahead and just do the cross multiplying. So 2/3 times 3/10 would be, well, it'd be 6 over 30. Let's just say that. And do the other one, 8/5 times 1 over 7, that's going to be 8 over 35. And we're trying to figure out if those are equal. So I could reduce 6 over 30 because 6 goes into 6 one time and 6 goes into 35 times. That's 1/5. Okay, so at this point, I think it looks pretty obviously false, but if we want to go ahead and cross multiply it to make it more obvious, 1 times 35 is 35, and 5 times 8 is 40. Definitely not equal to each other, so it's false. Okay, so now the real important part, which is actually solving the proportions. And I will pretty much do that by cross multiplying. So number 7, x times 9, that's 9x. 3 times 12, that's 36. So 9x equals 36, and then just divide both sides by 9. So x equals 4. All right, on number 8, I could just go ahead and straight up cross multiply it, but it is going to make it a lot easier if I go ahead and reduce that fraction, because I know that 25 goes into 100 4 times. So I think that'll make it a ton easier to do it that way. And then at that point, I can just say, okay, well, 1 times n is n, and 4 times -7 is -28, and voila, n equals -28. All right, number 9, I'll go ahead and just do the cross multiplying. So 8/15 n equals 24 times 5/9. So 24 is the same thing as 24 over 1. And then let's see if I could reduce a little bit. 3 goes into 9 3 times, and 3 goes into 24 8 times. And then 8 times 5 is 40, and 1 times 3 is 3. So I have 8/15 n equals 40 over 3. So to get n by itself, I would divide by 8/15, which is also the same thing as saying multiply by 15 over 8. So 8 goes into 40 5 times, and 3 goes into 15 5 times, and 5 times 5 is 25. So n equals 25. On number 10, the first thing I'm going to do is change the mixed number to an improper fraction. So 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 is 4. So 1 1/3 is the same thing as 4/3. And then I'll go ahead and do my cross multiplying. So 5 times a is 5a. And then I need to do 2 times 4/3. So 2 times 4 is 8, and 1 times 3 is 3. So basically 5a is equal to 8/3. So I would need to divide both sides by 5, which is also the same thing as multiplying by 1/5. So a equals 8/15. All right. So whenever you're doing word problems with proportions, you just want to make sure that when you set up your proportion, each fraction has like the same units on the top and the same units on the denominator. And I usually, it doesn't matter really like which one you pick as long as you do it the same for each fraction. So number 11, it says it takes a word processor 30 minutes to word process and spell check 4 pages. Find how many pages she can word process and spell check in 4.5 hours. So we're talking about the number of pages she can do in a certain amount of time. So I like to start by writing down the way I'm going to set up my proportion. So I'm going to do pages over time. Now I was given 2 different times using 2 different units, so I will need to convert them to be in the same unit. It doesn't matter which units I pick as long as it's the same. So I can do minutes or I can do hours. So I know that 30 minutes is half an hour. So to me, it's easier to just say, okay, 30 minutes is 0.5 hours. So I'm just going to use hours for my time. All right. So 30 minutes is the same thing as 0.5 hours. All right. So she can do 4 pages in 0.5 hours. So 4 over 0.5 equals. And then the unknown is the number of pages that she could do in 4.5 hours. So 4 over 0.5 equals x over 4.5. And then from there, I'm just going to cross multiply. So 0.5 times x, so 0.5x equals, so 4 times 4.5. So 4 times 0.5 is 18. So 0.5x equals 18. And then divide by 0.5. So as a shortcut, I know that dividing by a half is the same as multiplying by 2. So I just think 18 times 2 is 36. And you can always do it out the long way, but I'm just telling you my shortcut that I use. So it's 36 pages. All right, number 12, University Law School accepts 2 out of every 7 applicants. If the school accepted 150 students, find how many applications they received. Okay, so we are looking at number of accepted versus number applied. So I'm just going to do accepted over applied. So again, if you flipped it and did it the other way, it would still give you the same answer as long as you do the same for both fractions. Okay, so it says they accept 2 out of every 7 applicants. So that would be 2 over 7 equals, and then they accepted 150, so that's on top. How many applications did they receive? That's the unknown, so that's the x. And then we'll just cross multiply. So 2x equals 7 times 150. So 7 times 100 is 700, and 7 times 50 would be 350. So 700 plus 350 would equal 1050. So 2x equals 1050. And then divide both sides by 2. So that'd be 525. 525 applications. All right, number 13 says the scale on an Italian map states that 1 centimeter corresponds to 30 kilometers. On the map, a small Italian village is located 0.4 centimeters from the Mediterranean Sea. Find the actual distance. Okay, so we are comparing map distance, and both of those are given in centimeters over actual distance, which is given in kilometers. So 1 centimeter corresponds to 30 kilometers. So if it's 0.4 centimeters, then how many kilometers would that be in real life? So 1 times x is x. And then we just got to do 30 times 0.4. So 30 times 4 would be 120, but I need one of those digits to be after the decimal point. So that's 12 kilometers. Any questions? All right, that's it for today.